Good evening, this is CitrusTV News, your campus news leader with breaking news. I'm Gabriella Rusk, joined by Seth Quam and Hunter Sines. We have the most up-to-date updates for you here on the Syracuse University campus. Seth, what is the most recent orange alert that we've heard?
So first off, another orange alert just in the last few minutes saying orange alert remains in effect, remain indoors until further instructed. There is no need to call DPS unless you have an emergency or to report suspicious action. So we want to make sure that DPS doesn't get flooded with calls, just people wondering what's going on. So if you are wondering what's going on, continue to follow CitrusTV. And please, if you do have any suspicious activity or do need to report something to DPS, please feel free to do so.
Now, our reporter Hunter was actually at the scene. Hunter, tell us what you saw there.
Yeah, so basically, guys, what we had seen is we drove out, and the first part that we went to, we drove up by Archbold. We circled around by ESF. We couldn't see anything. There were DPS officers, of course, just surveillancing the area. There's a lot of mixed reports out there right now in the media, amongst officers and everything. And basically what we saw was a perimeter set up around Oakwood Cemetery. Once we drove back down towards Comstock, down Comstock heading towards South Campus, there are DPS officers, there are state troopers, there were even some of the New York College cops and their cars out of their cars and in their cars as well. There's undercover cops with unmarked vehicles all along that road as they set that perimeter on the university side. You take a right around the Oakwood Cemetery and there are more cops. There is an investigation underway around Moore Street. There are flares lining that street, blocking it off. Cops are standing. There are about 3 or 4 of them standing there blocking anybody who lives in or on that street. Now,
this update says, remain sheltered in place, do not leave buildings, stay in place indoors, and keep doors closed. That's from the university itself. Hunter, we're advising everyone to stay indoors. This is correct?
Yes, stay indoors, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to see the press out there trying to get information for our viewers, for the people that it's impacting up here on the Hill, but do stay indoors at all times. Now back to what I was saying, on Moore Street, there are a lot of cars, cop cars rather, out there. Media is also lined up trying to get information on that blocked street. I did see a crime investigation van with officers taking pictures. They were going to and from that van off of Moore Street. It's absolutely an incredible scene out there to see how many officers are surrounding and blocking off that area. Now, what we do have confirmed, there are also multiple reports that on Hope Avenue there was a homicide on Hope Avenue, and police are investigating that scene. And they do believe that some suspects might have fled through Oakwood Cemetery. Now we're popping up that map. That's Hope Avenue, marked across 81, across from where that big green area, which is Oakwood Cemetery. Now, that is where that homicide happened. Police believe that those suspects could have fled through Oakwood Cemetery, which of course brought this alert to SU to go ahead and lock us down. What we do not know is how many people are involved. We do not know a set number. We know there are at least 2 suspects that could possibly be on the loose. That's according to what police have told the media. Now, still going forward, we don't know at this point what all has happened besides that one homicide.
Now, there was a report from News Channel 9 saying, from Chief Fowler, can you expand upon that? Yeah,
so Chief Fowler came out and basically said that they are investigating that homicide. I had already left the scene at that time, but there are multiple media here in Syracuse, the Post-Standard, WSYR, Time Warner Cable News, that are all saying that that homicide did take place on Hope Avenue and that those suspects that could have been involved could have went through Oakwood Cemetery as they tried to escape. We don't know where those people are, of course. That's why this entire search is underway. There is a helicopter with a spotlight that is, could be heard and seen circling the area, circling around campus. I was on Stratford at a house on Stratford Street, and you can hear it from your house. You can hear the sirens going off when the first alerts were sent out. I mean, it sends us into a shock when we see and hear things just a week or two ago of what happened in Oregon. I mean, we're all on high alert as it is.
Well, one of the biggest buildings on campus on high alert is the Mount, which includes Day Hall and Flint Hall. That is the closest building on campus to SU faculty. This is an email sent to the residents of Flint Hall. It says, "We are currently advised by the Department of Public Safety to shelter in place. It is visible from outside the building that many rooms have their lights on and windows curtains open. It is advised to turn your lights off, shut your blinds, and stay away from the windows and lock your doors. Please make minimal noise. At this point, we have no indication of immediate threat, but we urge you to follow DPS directives. When DPS deems it safe to enter your sheltered area, you will receive an orange alert. Do not yell out of windows or let people in through them. In addition, you should not be letting one in your sheltered area at this time." So we've also had reports from students at Day Hall saying that no non-residents are allowed in the building. This is obviously going for Flint Hall as well. Those are the two closest buildings to Oakwood Cemetery. I think the main message here is to stay inside and close your doors. Do not let anyone in you do not know, and pretend like you're not there.
So it seems like all the information we know up until this point is that there seems like there was a homicide on Hope Avenue. We don't know if there was any other things that actually occurred on campus or near campus other than just fleeing of suspects, possibly going through Oakwood Cemetery. So that maybe is a little bit encouraging. Obviously, our hopes and prayers are with everyone who is involved in the incident. Yeah. But for students to know that possibly this wasn't actually something that occurred on campus.
Exactly. It started on Hope Avenue, away from campus. And the only concern is we don't know if those suspects are armed. We don't know if they are dangerous at this point. We don't know what exactly happened on Hope Avenue. And we don't know what exactly those crime scene investigators were taking pictures of and why they have Moore Street blocked off. Now, I want to address those mixed reports. We've heard reports that there was a drug deal gone wrong with an undercover police detective. We cannot confirm that at this time. We also cannot confirm reports that there was a body dumped and that there may be suspects from that dumping of a body in Oakwood Cemetery that might have tried to flee after dumping the body. We cannot confirm that at this time. We are working diligently in our newsroom to confirm any information, and I know that we're planning to bring it to you guys as soon as we get it.
And here is that map of Hope Avenue again, just to give you students an idea of the area that we're talking about. The main area of concern is Oakwood Cemetery, which is around Hope Avenue. That's where Flint and Day Hall are, the Mount Steps are. Now, another area of concern, Hunter, you are actually at SUNY ESF tonight. What did you see there?
I know that they are on lockdown as well. Like I said, when you went around there is a perimeter set up specifically by DPS officers. They were not out of their cars. I couldn't see them on the streets or anything of that sort, but there is a set perimeter. They want to make sure that they enclose that entire cemetery from basically anybody getting in and anybody getting out of that, including alleged suspects that they believe could have passed through Oakwood Cemetery from either that homicide or we don't know at this time what is going on Moore Street, what's going on Robert Drive, where police are also investigating. I know that we tweeted out a picture that I had sent to our news director and our news team here at CitrusTV. They tweeted that picture out. That was taken on Robert Drive, where police are investigating a different scene. We don't know what exactly they have found there, if it was earlier reports of a car that was dumped there that they could have possibly be investigating. I didn't see a car in the middle of the street. They were out in the middle of the street in front of a house taking pictures. They were investigating. They were talking to each other. We're not really sure what's going on Robert Drive, on Moore Street, or the details of the homicide on Hope Avenue. But we're working to get more information, as I said, Gabby and Seth, and we are going to bring it to our viewers as soon as we get it.
What's important, as you were saying earlier, is to remember the things that maybe are rumors circulating, but we cannot confirm that at this time. Again, it's important to remember not to believe everything you hear, and that really just to keep tuning in, and we'll try to present the information as we have it to you, that things that we can confirm and that we know to be true.
Now, we've just spoken to an officer. We're getting reports from our newsroom that the word lockdown has yet to be used on the Syracuse campus. It is shelter in place as of right now. The word lockdown has yet to be used, so we are not calling it an SU lockdown. It is not an SU lockdown. Most of the buildings on campus have not let students out of it. They have locked their doors, but that does not mean that Syracuse campus is under lockdown. That, I guess, is a totally significant stage of emergency.
Yeah. And if it was a lockdown, that means that nobody is allowed in or out, even if you want to leave. You are on lockdown permanently.
And we have that information directly from a DPS officer.
Yeah, I know a friend of mine had left for the gym at Archbold moments before this happened. He had made it to the gym. He was put on this shelter in place, and he was able to leave. We picked him up to take him home, and he was able to leave because it wasn't a lockdown, in other words.
Mm-hmm. And we've also been told that there are students at Byrd Library. They have been advised to not leave the library. They are strongly advised against it, but like we said, technically the building is not under lockdown. The students can leave if they like, but they're advised to not leave. And we, as Citrus TV, are advising you to stay inside. Even though it is not an official lockdown, we are advising that you remain indoors, especially students living in Flint and Day Hall remain inside.
Yeah, if you're on campus, if you were at classes, shelter in place. Take DPS's advice. Stay in place. These are what these procedures are here for, to stay safe in case anything happens in the situation.
Now, Seth, earlier we did have our reporter Claire Moran. She is stationed in Newhouse right now. What was Claire telling us about that situation under lock?
Yeah, so it seems like, at least in Newhouse, a lot of the students were moved into one auditorium there just to make sure that everyone is located in a safe spot. Again, safety first in all of these situations. And although it is not a lockdown, it's important to make sure that everyone is accounted for, we know where everyone is, and that everyone is safe and not going anywhere that they shouldn't be going.
Yeah. And I know another thing is, kudos to all of those officers. You know, they responded in a timely manner. They responded quickly to get that perimeter set up for our safety. And like I said, that perimeter is a wide-ranging. They have it. Can we pull up that map again of Hope Avenue, and you can clearly see the cemetery. Thanks for putting that up, guys. You can see that green area, Oakwood Cemetery. They literally have cops surrounding that green area, cop cars, whether they're in their car, in unmarked vehicles, in state trooper vehicles. They're out on foot and by car
now,
along around that cemetery.
Hunter, in relation to here, where is Robert Drive? We are receiving reports that the abandoned car, which is supposedly belonging to the suspects, has now been towed. So this abandoned car on Robert Drive, we're just receiving reports now that that car has been towed, but where is that in relation to Hope Avenue?
So Robert Drive, if you see that map and you're coming along Oakwood Cemetery, or Comstock Avenue rather, along the side of Oakwood Cemetery where Manley is just across the street, if you come to that next intersection and you take a right towards 81, that first street on your right is Robert Ave. That first little cut that kind of goes into Oakwood Cemetery, that's Robert Drive. There are plenty of apartments that are also, I mean, those are houses for SU students. I have multiple friends on the softball team that live in those apartments on Robert Drive. I know it has to be a chaotic scene for them. Absolutely. To have those officers flashing lights, investigating that dumped vehicle, as Gabby just said that we do have confirmed. But that is where Robert Drive is. A hardcore perimeter is set up along Comstock, along the outskirts of Oakwood Cemetery, and even, I would imagine, I didn't get up to 81, but if they're completely trying to isolate Oakwood Cemetery and not let anybody in or out, I would believe at least that along 81 on that side of Oakwood Cemetery, that chopper is flying around all of it. They have the entire thing looked at right now. I can tell you, if anybody's going to try to come out, they're going to be seen. I mean, they have every bit of this covered. Again, that homicide on the other side of 81 happened on Hope Avenue. We know one person is dead. We don't know how many suspects are being looked for at this time, but police and authorities do worry that possibly they have escaped through Oakwood Cemetery, and that is what caused this entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, again, kudos to all of those police officers and everyone, state troopers, DPS officers. That when you look at that map of that cemetery, that's a large area to cover. Certainly, we have got all hands on deck here, and just working to make sure that we know that the area is safe before any other steps can be taken.
Yeah, and students know where the cemetery is. You pass it every day on the bus to South Campus from and to classes. Another thing is students, I know students that have ran through that cemetery as part of their running course, and they can attest that it is not the easiest of terrain. It is hilly, it is rough terrain, there's gravel, there's grass, and of course it's a graveyard. There are tombstones that people can hide behind, and that's what officers are trying to search for. They're wanting to search that area and make sure that nobody got inside of there that could come out on Syracuse University's side and be a threat to students and faculty who are on the Hill, getting out of classes or coming home or at home in those surrounding neighborhoods, like I said.
Yeah, Oakwood Cemetery is definitely a familiar place for students. Like you said, many students go through there, have ran through there. I've ran through there several times, and it is definitely a place that could be a place where you could hide. There are a lot of different places that may be hard to see, so it would be interesting to see what happens and where the investigation goes from here.
And one of the main concerns is South Campus as well, Hunter. That's considered off campus technically, and that is close to the Manley Fieldhouse. That's where the SU soccer stadium is. So what should the students on South Campus? We really haven't heard a lot from DPS about that.
Yeah, I mean, they're part of the SU community. Therefore, they I would guess is the shelter in place goes to them. I mean, students get these orange alerts no matter where they are.
Of course,
really.
We've actually had alumni have been receiving them as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And all of the parents have been receiving them.
Which, like I said, I spoke with DPS 2 weeks ago for a separate story, and they say that this is exactly why they have these procedures set in place. I mean, as soon as I got a text, I was getting emails, I was getting a phone call. I know that all of our viewers who are students and maybe alum, as Gabby said, have probably gotten these same orange alerts sent to your devices, just telling you shelter in place. There is something going on that police are investigating rather on the SU Hill and its surrounding areas. But like you said, South Campus students that are out there, that live there, that maybe are up at the Goldstein gym or doing laundry. Shelter in place. You have to stay in place this time.
It's also a good reminder to everyone that if you didn't get some of those orange alerts, if you didn't get a text on your phone, you need to update that information on MySlice. This is exactly why we have things like that in place. You never know when something's going to happen, and these are really important safety measures that we want everyone to be aware of. So if you haven't received anything, make sure your phone number, email, etc. are updated on MySlice.
And in situations like this, I mean, we receive these orange alerts every now and then. We get the phone calls. We all sort of brush it off. But in this situation, receiving a text message, receiving an update, it's something right now that we want to hear. And the orange alert is still in place. We want to make that very clear. There has not been an update from DPS. We are still under orange alert. The last update, Seth, it said, can you pull it up for me? It said...
Yeah, so it reminded everyone to make sure to not contact DPS unless you do have something to report or unless there is an emergency. And also just reminded students that Orange Alert remains in effect. Continue to remain indoors and just wait until further instructions.
We have the official tweet from Syracuse University. It says, update, remain sheltered in place, do not leave buildings, stay in place indoors, and keep doors closed. We want to reiterate once again that this is not a lockdown situation. This is a shelter in place state of emergency. It is not a lockdown. There has been a hashtag circling on Twitter, SU lockdown. That is not the case. We are not under lockdown. We are under shelter in place. There are certain degrees of emergency that a university can go under, a college campus can go under, and we are not in a lockdown situation.
Certainly an important distinction to make, but it is still obviously very important, as we've been saying, safety first. Stay where you are, stay in a building, and make sure that your friends are safe and that you continue to be safe throughout the rest of the situation.
And we are trying as hard as we can here in the Citrus TV newsroom to get as much possible information, but our biggest sources tonight have really been the Citrus TV news reporters that have been out on the scene. We'd like to thank Hunter Sines for joining us earlier. We also want to thank Claire Moran. If you have any information, please tweet at Citrus TV News. We have a couple emails set up, info@CitrusTV. You can follow us on Facebook. We're trying to get information there.
And again, just important to remember that not everything that you see on Twitter, on social media, on the internet is necessarily true. Important to not be alarmed by anything that you hear. We are working very hard to confirm any information that we have and to make sure that everything that we are reporting to you, we can confirm and that we have confidence in and that it is true.
One of the biggest things that we want to stress is just making sure that you are not believing everything you're seeing on social media at these times. Lots of information can be circling, and we are trying to give you the best information that we possibly can. We're trying to confirm with as many sources as possible before we do report it to you. We now have Hunter Sines joining us back again. Hunter, do you have any information for us?
Yeah, guys, at this time, I mean, still going with the unconfirmed news that we've been receiving through various reports and officials, authorities out in the field that are talking to the press. At this time, we only know that on Hope Avenue, the same thing, this homicide took place. We can't confirm that any other things happened on Hope Avenue at this time, but homicide detectives are on the scene. They're investigating, trying to see what happened. They're still blocking off Oakwood Cemetery. And I do want to note that we do have people that are watching this broadcast via YouTube on the live stream. And I understand, I just went into the control room, and they tell me that people that are on lockdown, students and faculty that are on lockdown in the Herg in Newhouse are tuning in. We thank you. We're just trying to get as much confirmed news as possible to you. That is correct. That is our main priority, is we want to get you the correct information in a timely fashion, but we don't want to rush to judgments here, and that's a big thing that we don't want to do. We are trying to confirm reports that we have heard with authorities that are investigating, that are on the scene, and when we get that stuff confirmed, we'll bring it to you.
And one of those confirmed reports that we do have is that Centennial Hall at ESF is on lockdown. So the term lockdown has yet to be applied to Syracuse University, but ESF, SUNY ESF, the Centennial Hall at SUNY ESF is confirmed on lockdown. So that's the latest information we have on there. We also have reports that the marching band, the Syracuse University marching band, is on lockdown in the Carrier Dome. Hunter, we talked about this earlier, but you were at ESF. I know that was a couple hours ago now, but what exactly did you see there? Yeah,
so like I said earlier, there were DPS officials lined up around ESF and around behind Lawrenson. Actually, we went past BBB in behind Lawrenson. There are DPS officials that are up along the street ramp that goes up behind Lawrenson, and this is all part of that perimeter for Oakwood Cemetery.
We have confirmation that the Oakwood search, the Oakwood Cemetery search, which is where you were at earlier tonight, Hunter, that search has been called off because they are now searching other areas. So the Oakwood Cemetery search has been called off. We can confirm that, but they are now searching other areas. So that is where now speculation sort of kind of leads. What areas are they searching? We do not know that as of right now.
And if we can bring up that map again about that shows Hope Avenue and where it puts it in perspective of where this wide search zone is taking place. If we can get that map up, it really shows that Hope Avenue is across 81, and this is where police say that homicide happened. However, if you look at it, that's on the other side of 81. On the other side of SU and Oakwood Cemetery. That's how wide the search has gotten. They originally thought that these suspects or the people who they are looking for could have gone through Oakwood Cemetery. That's why they initially put it on lockdown. As Gabby noted, they have now lifted that search and are searching other places. But if they went that far, I mean, we don't want to speculate, of course, of where the next search zone is. But if they went that far, who knows where exactly they're searching right now until we get get that information confirmed.
We now have a few reports from students living on Euclid Avenue that they have heard gunshots on Euclid Avenue. That is what we have heard. We cannot confirm that, but those are the latest reports that we have, that there are gunshots on Euclid Avenue. There are also students living on Comstock Avenue that earlier tonight reported to us that there are just cop cars, and Hunter, you said yourself you heard helicopters, choppers circulating.
There was a helicopter that had its spotlight on, and this is when the search was underway over Oakwood and around Oakwood Cemetery, and you could hear it as soon as the sirens went off with the first orange alert. If you just waited, you could hear that chopper going and searching in the air. As I said, I was in a house in Stratford, right on the corner of Stratford in Comstock by the Women's Building, and one of the roommates who lives there said, you know, this could be the police searching for somebody who either got away, and that's exactly what this seems to be. That helicopter was searching for suspects at this time who police believe could be in relation with that homicide on Hope Avenue across Highway 81. And that search of Oakwood, we do want to say and remind you, that is now up. We're trying to get information right now of where the future searches that police are going to occupy will be, where exactly their next search zone will be.
Now, Citrus TV, in just a few minutes, we will be getting an update from Syracuse Police. We have confirmed that we will be getting an update from Syracuse Police in just a few minutes, so we ask that you stay tabbed to our YouTube live stream. But Seth, if you want to just go through, let's kind of outline everything that we know as of right now.
So as we're waiting for that report, for viewers that may be tuning in now, maybe missed some of the beginning of what we were talking about, I just wanted to go over everything, and you guys can help me fill in the pieces here. So first, Syracuse students got an orange alert telling everyone to remain inside, do not leave, do not let anyone out. It seemed to be, obviously, there was an investigation going on.
Yeah, and this original lower third said the SBD investigation, so the Syracuse Police investigation, crime off campus, shelter in place, remain indoors.
Shortly after that, one of our reporters, Marcus White, had a source that was telling us of a car that was left on Robert Drive. Thank you. And that car, at the time, we didn't know if that was involved in the incident or not, but it was left there. No one was claiming the car in sight. Since then, we've heard that car has now been towed. So we still don't really know exactly how that car was involved, but certainly some speculation that it was in the incident.
And like I said, when we drove up there to Robert Drive, we had to turn around. It was blocked off once you got to the L cut of Robert Drive to go around the loop. It was blocked off with police investigating, and I'm guessing it was this car that was eventually towed off.
We want to make a confirmation, of correction here. The gunshots were not on Euclid. They could just be heard from Euclid. So we cannot confirm that the gunshots were on Euclid, but students living on Euclid could hear those gunshots. Just want to make a correction there.
So shortly after that, we know sometime around there, after the orange alert, several cars, cop cars, were patrolling the area, and then Oakwood Cemetery was surrounded. You witnessed that yourself firsthand. We received a second orange alert basically saying continue, basically the same thing, remain inside, and then a third orange alert again telling us to remain inside and reminding us not to. We've got some breaking news here, it sounds like.
The orange alert no longer exists. That is breaking news from Citrus TV. The orange alert no longer exists. We have yet to receive, we did just receive an update. It says, be advised, the emergency no longer exists and it is clear to resume normal activity. Continue to be diligent and report any suspicious activity. So breaking news, the orange alert has been called off. We do not know what has happened or why it has been called off, but the orange alert has been called off.
Well, that's certainly encouraging news there. Very important that obviously remain safe, remain alert of anything that maybe happened. And even the orange alert did say continue to be diligent and report suspicious activity, but it seems like now it is safe to leave buildings.
Yeah, leave buildings, leave homes. You can go about the street on your normal nightly schedule that you're going to if you need to go study on campus or whatever. Now they're saying that has now been lifted, the shelter in place. You can go somewhere, but still be diligent, because this is what these procedures are set for, so that we don't have something happening on campus and students aren't prepared and students aren't taking the safety precautions to get in a closed quarter, to get away from the situation at hand.
And this is the tweet from Syracuse University, just tweeted: "The orange alert, be advised, the emergency no longer exists and it is clear to resume normal activity. Continue to be diligent and report any suspicious activity," is what it. We are going to stay on the air. Citrus TV will be staying on the air until we can report what the Syracuse police have told us. Although it is safe on campus, the orange alert has been lifted. We still want to ensure the safety of everyone living off campus, everyone living on campus. So if you have any information, we welcome you to tweet it at Citrus TV News. We intend to stay on the air until we know for sure what exactly has happened tonight. And so let's go back to kind of outlining everything. So now we have this car that was abandoned. Kind of take us back to that. So we know everyone is safe. The orange alert has been lifted, but let's just kind of keep going through that outline of events.
So the car was eventually towed. Cop cars, state troopers surrounded Oakwood Cemetery. Several orange alerts were sent out to students telling them to stay inside. Students in Newhouse were moved into the auditorium in the HURG to make sure that everyone was safe and in not leaving anywhere. Byrd Library was advising students not to leave. Marching band was in the dome. No one was leaving there. So clearly it was shelter in place, not a lockdown in Syracuse, but really a lot of activity, especially around Oakwood Cemetery. And then eventually police decided to stop that search in Oakwood Cemetery and continue searching. And now, after that, apparently the emergency is no longer
Well, we do have a report from a student in Byrd Library. They are telling us that the library is not letting anyone leave yet. So although the shelter in place, the orange alert has been lifted, some buildings are still taking precaution.
Yeah, and it's important to know that these are student reports at this time. We have not heard from officials at Byrd Library or officials about the shots possibly heard by students living along Euclid. That has not been confirmed by authorities or officials yet. Those have just been heard shots fired on Euclid from students, and a student's recollection of them not being able to leave Byrd Library. But we're trying to get that confirmed with officials at this time. Gabby?
We can confirm right now that the Comstock on Comstock, all of the cop cars have left Comstock, and the police have left Comstock.
Helicopter is no longer there. It seems to be quiet along Comstock now.
It seems to be quiet along Comstock, so that's the confirmation that we have from the Citrus TV newsroom.
Definitely another encouraging sign. It seems like students can now return back to normal activity and feel safe.
Yeah, it's important to note, though, that we have nothing confirmed on if the situation has been taken care of, if they found the people that they need to find, and I believe that's what we're trying to ask Syracuse police when we get in contact with them.
Yes, we are currently working on getting in contact with Syracuse police, but one thing that we really want to stress here at Citrus TV is that this situation is by no means a campus shooting. The Syracuse University campus was never officially on lockdown. It was not a campus shooting. It was a situation off campus that DPS notified us of. So with all the talk about off-campus shootings and campus shootings, we just want to make it clear that this situation is not a campus shooting.
It was clear, really. I think we made it clear. We tried to report that the homicide occurred on Hope Avenue, and that the situation resulted from that because of suspects fleeing possibly through Oakwood Cemetery and entering a area very close to campus, and that's why all these precautions were taken.
Yeah, and it's still unclear, like I said, if those people have been caught, if police have gone ahead and neutralized the situation, and it's also unclear what exactly is going on Moore Street, where we saw those flares put up, the street blocked along Moore Street. We know what happened on Robert Drive and what happened on Hope Avenue, and it'd be interesting to see what the police have to say about what happened exactly on Moore Street.
And we do want to confirm again that this has not been considered a lockdown on the Syracuse campus. It's a shelter in place, so there are many different stages of emergency that a Syracuse campus can undergo, any sort of college campus can undergo. So although certain buildings were under lockdown, it's not a campus-wide lockdown. That's just something that we want to reiterate once again, that it is not a campus-wide lockdown here at Citrus TV.
So those are, I think,
campus.
important distinctions to make. It was not a lockdown, not a campus shooting. We just want to make sure we're clear with our rhetoric here and understanding the terms that need to be used in this kind of situation.
Yeah, and one of the major things to know is that every student should have received an orange alert. Seth, how can you tell someone if they have not received anything tonight, any alert, anything letting them know the alert has been lifted, what should they do?
So certainly that is a little bit of a cause for concern. It's very important for situations like this to make sure you are receiving these alerts. First step, obviously, is to update your information on MySlice. It's possible that you put in a number wrong, maybe 2 became a 3, and so you've got to make sure that if you weren't receiving anything, check on MySlice, make sure your phone number, email, etc. are updated on there, emergency contact information and all that. And if for some reason there are problems even after that check, definitely you can contact DPS and make sure all that gets sorted out.
And it's important to notice that via social media and via DPS has done a fairly great job of getting the word out in time to warn students of what's going on campus and the surrounding areas, to take precautions to get into a house. No longer, of course, since it's been lifted. But they did do a good job of getting the message out there, and then students as well did a good job of putting that on social media, telling people this is not a drill, it's not a shooting on campus, but this is a real situation in which you need to take safety precautions and get inside somewhere to be safe.
And one thing we also want to make clear as all of this is sort of unfolding, it's the homicide and the shooting is completely unrelated to Syracuse students. It has yet to be confirmed in any way, shape, or form that a Syracuse student has been involved. So we want to make that extremely clear. No Syracuse students have yet to be reported to being involved. It has just been an orange alert letting us know that it has happened near Syracuse University.
And it's just the precautions. Like you were saying, nothing has actually happened on SU property, on the grounds here on the Hill. It's happened away from it. It's just the only thing that's really been happening is the scenes of the DPS and officials that were setting up a perimeter around that cemetery, which was very close to Syracuse University. And that's what created this ordeal and this precaution to make sure that our students are safe.
And although no students were involved, and that is a very important distinction we want to make. Of course, this does impact students, emotionally. It sounds like some people on Euclid Avenue heard loud noises that they interpreted as a gunshot. Definitely some kind of anxious feelings could have been felt here with hearing the sirens, getting the alerts, hearing the helicopter, seeing all of the cops roaming around and investigating. And so we just want to make certain that it is clear that this is a really good opportunity to reach out to your friends, make sure everyone is safe, make sure everyone's doing okay, and that they were in a good supportive spot during this whole ordeal.
And reach out to your family back home.
Absolutely.
I don't know how it just happened, but I was just trying to look down to get more information, and I get a text message from my sister saying, "Are you okay?" She's all the way down in Texas. I don't know how she's found out, but this is how this stuff circulates. We don't know. Us three here don't know what it's being plastered on, if it's being on national media right now. We don't know how exactly our family might know, but tell your family that things are okay. Make sure that they know that you're safe, that nothing has happened on campus. It's not a shooting on campus, and the situation has since been lifted.
Yes.
And that's why we at Citrus TV are waiting to hear from the Syracuse police before we give you any other information that we may have on what has happened tonight. But like Hunter was saying, please let your parents know. Please let anyone that you know who cares about you that you are safe as of right now, and that Syracuse University has lifted this orange alert.
It's a good example of how today's social media and all of the interconnectedness that we are really exists in this incident. As you're saying, we don't even know how some of your relatives down in Texas knew that anything was going on. I received a message from one of my friends in another area in New York, and the other side of that was that students could communicate with each other through Twitter and disseminate information, which is very valuable in a time like this where you really don't know really what's going on. Everyone is speculating. Again, obviously important to remember where these sources are coming from, and not everything you see is true. But in general, I think this is a good.
Sorry to cut you off there, Seth. We just have a tweet from a Newhouse professor. Says, "State cop said to me they are not after folks like you, so panic not. This homicide is unrelated to SU. Stay alert, but not fearful." Again, using the hashtag SU lockdown, but we are not calling it a lockdown. But that is advice from a professor at Syracuse University, saying that it is okay, the students should not be afraid, and that's something that we have tried to talk about earlier tonight, that it's unrelated to a Syracuse student. This entire situation does not involve a Syracuse student of any sort, and that's sort of what this tweet is confirming.
Yeah, and it's important to also understand, people hear those sirens, they start getting those orange alerts, and you start having that fear. But like we said, nothing has happened tremendously, or a shooting on campus has not happened here in Syracuse, and the orange alert has been lifted.
This is another tweet from a professor, Joanna Keller. Says, "Helicopter gone, cops gone, all quiet on Comstock opposite Oakwood. Hope the police find them wherever they are." So we did report that earlier tonight, that everything seems to be quiet on Comstock, where the original activity really did take place that Hunter was at.
Yeah. So I mean, it was an unbelievable scene earlier, and now it's settled down. We don't know at this time again where the police have extended their search, if they have found the people that they were searching for. But we're trying to get that information to our viewers as soon as we can. I know that we're still waiting on Syracuse police to speak with us, and you have to credit them with what they're doing out there, what they're going through, and we just have to be patient in a time like this, because their first thing is not to get to the press to talk to us at this time, as much as we would like it to be, to get it to our viewers. But we're just going to have to also compromise and wait for them to come to us with that information. But as you said, the alert has been lifted, and that's the most important thing at this time.
Certainly, as media members, sometimes it can be tempting to wonder why we're not getting more information quickly, and as viewers to wonder, well, we've been waiting here to hear this information, where is it? But you got to remember, all of these police officers have had a long night themselves. All of them have worked very hard to make sure this situation was under control, and we want to make sure that they are doing everything they need to do to make sure everyone is safe, and that they are thinking about themselves too. Sometimes we don't think about the trials and the trouble that can happen with police officers putting themselves out there, possibly in harm's way. So we want to make sure that all of them are feeling comfortable as well.
And it's not just, I know we've focused on this orange alert being sent out by DPS. It's not only DPS officials. As I said, you see Syracuse police officers doing their best to get this situation under control, in which it seems like they have in Oakwood Cemetery by calling off the search efforts. Also, state troopers I have seen out there doing their part, getting out of their vehicles on foot, setting up that perimeter that has since been lifted, of course, but it has been a joint force to try and get this search underway and try to find the people who they were trying to find.
And that's one thing we really want to reiterate once again. At Citrus TV, we are trying to tell you what we know is true and what we know is to be factual. There's been plenty of reports that have been actually called in to our studio by students, but we are trying to confirm those reports before we report them to you, because it seems that in any situation, people try and just grasp at the first piece of information. But we had Hunter there at the scene. We have all of our people working in the newsroom very hard to confirm with you what we know and what we do not know.
Yeah, it sounds like I need to get back out there to see if we can get any more information. But like you said, I mean, that is our number one priority, is trying to get the facts out to you, the viewers, the students, the SU community, surrounding area, to see what is actually taking place, what we can confirm. At this time, I know our producers, our directors in the control room are trying to get a hold of Syracuse Police to give us any more details and information regarding what has happened here tonight. But the good thing is that the orange alert has been lifted for the Syracuse University students and staff who are on campus and in the neighborhoods surrounding the area.
And we actually do have a tweet now from a Citrus TV and a Syracuse University alumni saying, "Today is a sobering reminder that #SYRACUSEU may be a bubble on the hill, but the bubble isn't too far from some not great areas of #Syracuse." So that is a reminder from our alum. We'd like to thank him once again. But that's a reminder, I guess. I guess maybe this situation may kind of spark a discussion as to how closely the Syracuse University community is to the Syracuse city.
Well, I think it's important to, obviously the first thing is safety, and we want to make sure that SU students on the Hill or off the Hill are always safe. But it's also important to understand some of those connections between the university and the rest of the Syracuse community. I think it's no secret that a lot of times students are kind of sheltered up on the Hill, and that sometimes it seems like the university has a lot of resources and so many minds working together, and sometimes often financial opportunities that aren't available to many Syracuse residents. And so it's important to continue to try to establish those connections and to work together with the city of Syracuse and try to make sure we're in a safe neighborhood for everyone and not just creating this bubble, as the tweet said, for Syracuse students.
Yeah, and it's also very clear that DPS and authorities have seen this problem coming for some time now. I mean, it's probably historically still been there, this Syracuse being in sort of a dangerous area, but that goes for every city pretty much, every university. There are bad parts of towns, there are good parts of towns, and there are mix. But the good thing is the authorities have these procedures in place for these reasons, and they got the word out in time to warn students, just as a precaution, to stay in your house, to shelter in place. That has since been lifted, but again, a good job to Syracuse University and to DPS, to law enforcement around Syracuse and the state, for being proactive about the situation and getting the students the information that they need in that timely manner so that we stay safe.
And it was definitely encouraging as well, the number of different law enforcement groups that responded to the scene so quickly. It wasn't just DPS that were there left fending for themselves. Syracuse police were there, state troopers were there, and they all had this, as we saw earlier, that Oakwood Cemetery is a large area, and they were all surrounding there, making sure everyone was safe, conducting their investigation. So definitely is encouraging, showing how the university and the city can work together to make sure some of these incidents are resolved and everyone stays safe.
Yeah, and I think one thing to note is that we kind of always seem to get these orange alert emails when something has happened off campus, but this was a little more than normal that we've gotten. And
it was
that's
more than the warning, than just the test trials that we get.
The aftermath.
Yeah, exactly.
It was the pre-math, which is reassuring that something like this DPS did take seriously.
Take seriously, exactly. And you know, like I said, this is why we have, Seth pointed at it earlier, this is why we have those test orange alerts sent out to us at the beginning of every semester. I believe they also send one out when we come back from breaks. And every so often they send the emails, they call your cell phone, they send you a text message with these orange alerts to just make sure that you've updated your MySlice account. Like Seth pointed out earlier, if you haven't, go and do it so you're getting these important messages in time of deep concern that DPS officials have for us. And that's exactly what students have to do. Like you said, that could be off a number. Some students might have just forgotten to go and do it, but we're trying to get these students to go out there to put their information on, so next time, if you didn't get it this time, maybe you'll get it next time.
Well, hopefully,
Hunter,
yeah, there will
exactly.
not be a next
Hopefully
time.
there won't be a next time.
We'd like to hope
but
that,
you never know.
But we do want to let everyone who is still watching us on YouTube know that we are waiting, we're staying live until we receive the press release from Syracuse Police outlining the situation of events, what exactly did happen. We know that the orange alert has been lifted, but we do not know why or what exactly did unfold. So we will remain live until we know all the details there. But if you know anything, if you see any suspicious activity, please let DPS know, let the Syracuse Police know, but let us know as well.
Yeah, that's all part of the staying diligent and trying to make sure if you see something suspicious, report it. That is, at the end of the day, that's what DPS and authorities are here for. If you don't feel safe in your neighborhood, if you don't feel safe on campus, if you see something out of the ordinary, report it. Because at the end of the day, you'd rather be safe than sorry. And in this case, you know, I don't know if at this time we don't know if the police had the situation and just told DPS that go ahead and put us on lockdown and urged them to do that. But this is exactly why these procedures are set in place, is to keep you safe. If you see something, report it, because you never know what could happen from that suspicious act that you might see.
And that, of course, goes for any time throughout the year. That's not just today. It's important to remain alert and really just let someone know if you see something that happens suspicious. I know off-campus neighborhoods, sometimes there are break-ins. My house off-campus had some items stolen from it earlier this year. So we are in an area where certain things can occur, and it's important to report those things to police so that in the future some of those things can be prevented.
Well, and a lot of it stems from, I mean, Syracuse, people that might be into, let's say, crime is going to be on the hill when you have Syracuse students who are some of them are from wealth. They pay the money to go here, and people that are going to break into your home, they know that we're told by authorities year after year to keep your house locked, to keep your items on your person at all times, to keep your windows shut. These tips are because people who are going to break in, who are going to start these orange alerts, who we get these emails from DPS about constantly, they know, they're smart enough to know that us students have valuable things in order to go to school. Computers, we have cars, we have TVs, we all live together. I mean, you break into one house and there's a lot of things that are worth a lot of money in that house, and they know that. And that's why keep your items locked away, keep your doors closed, and tell police if you see something.
And that does kind of reiterate this a little bit of a disconnect between some of the situations that we see by students and staff on the Hill compared to the greater Syracuse community. And so it's, again, important just to continue to build those connections between the university and between the city, and just to remember that, all of these things can happen wherever you are. This is not a situation unique to Syracuse, and it's just important to stay safe, stay alert at all times, and report things whenever necessary.
We do actually have a tweet from another Syracuse University professor. Tweeted at us, now that the hashtag SU lockdown is over, I'd like to know what hashtag not a lockdown means and when some buildings were locked. So that kind of walks us through the outline of events here. Seth, we know that there were, Byrd Library was one building in particular that was not on lockdown, but it was advised that students did not leave. So we do want to reiterate once again that this university was not under lockdown. It was not under lockdown. What buildings do we know were, though?
Yes, so it's an important distinction to make that SU was not on lockdown, but we do know that areas on the Mount, Day Hall, Flint Hall were in special circumstances because of their proximity to Oakwood Cemetery. So it seems like certainly at certain times through the night, students were not being allowed in or out of Day Hall. I know from a source of mine that several students were in the Carrier Dome. They were not being let out of the Carrier Dome. Students in Newhouse Building were centralized into HERG and not let out of there. So there were certainly, I think academic buildings were doing the right thing, making sure students were safe and not just roaming around during this whole situation.
I think the clarification to make is that although students were allowed to leave, they were just strongly advised that they did not leave the buildings that they were in. And most students, I think, did take heed to that advice and stay in whichever academic building that they were on. But it's important to recognize that the university itself never declared a state of lockdown. A state of lockdown is something to a much higher caliber than just a shelter in place. And a shelter in place suggests that people stay inside in a locked door, but that does not mean that the building or the campus itself was on lockdown. So that's a clarification.
Absolutely. Another encouraging thing, too, I received several messages. I know several people here in our newsroom were receiving messages and sending out messages to their friends, reminding them just to stay indoors, to not take this situation lightly. So this was another good example of how we can support each other and really understand that these situations aren't something to take lightly, and that although it was not a lockdown, we were encouraging each other and getting encouragement to stay in places and make sure we're all safe.
And this is the tweet that we are answering from a professor at CitrusTV News. We are just sort of clarifying what, it's confusing because the hashtag that has been used all night is hashtag SU lockdown, but when it was in fact not a lockdown, it was simply a shelter in place. So that's just something that we are trying to clarify to all of our viewers, that we were never under lockdown. And that just goes to show how quickly Twitter can take to making up news that's not even confirmed.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was on every orange alert, it was noted it is a shelter in place. They never used the word lockdown. I think it would be interesting to go ahead and, when we talk to Syracuse Police or DPS, to get those definitions of what is the difference between the two. I do know that right now, Syracuse Police Department, their Department of Communications, is actually writing their press release right now. As soon as we get our hands on it, we're going to bring you the details. We're going to scour through it and bring you the details of what exactly happened and what they're releasing to us at the time that can be confirmed. And we're going to bring that to our viewers as soon as we get it.
And so what we're hoping to receive from Syracuse Police is sort of a breakdown of what happened, where it happened, why it happened, if they know.
When it happened.
How it happened. When it happened, who was involved. And this is sort of the main area of concern from the night, that all cops have been removed from, the helicopters have left, that there is no concern any longer for Hope Avenue, Robert Drive. But we're hoping that once we receive this statement from Syracuse Police, it'll sort of break down where the police went tonight and under what situation they went there.
So once again, just to be clear, from this map there in the kind of the bottom left-hand corner, red dot is marking Hope Avenue. That is where the homicide occurred. Once again, SU students were not involved, and then this whole scenario is just showing where some of the police were centralized around Oakwood Cemetery, and you can kind of see on that map there the distance away from campus.
And we just want to confirm it's a potential homicide.
Yes, sorry for the distinction.
Not know if there was a homicide on Hope Avenue. Just
absolutely, very important.
Correction there.
Being investigated at the time, and like we said, we're hoping to get the information from that press release of what exactly not only they can tell us, but maybe what they can tell us and put in perspective of what we're seeing now. What happened? Why was this cemetery that's on the map right now, why was it a perimeter set around it? Why was, I would argue, itself put on lockdown pretty much? Nobody in or out of that cemetery who might be walking through it or might be in it. But that's what we want to confirm when we get that press release of what all happened. We might not have all the answers of the whys it happened, as people might be getting questioned. It's going to be going through a thorough investigation of what went on tonight before we get more detailed answers. But at least they can give us some confirmed information on what exactly overall happened to put us on that initial orange alert.
And like we said, we are waiting for this police statement, but we're only waiting because we want to give you the most up-to-date information. We do not want to just say what we have seen on social media or Twitter. I know tonight we can just think of everything that we've seen that has been so false and how lucky it has been that has been so false, and it's sort of human nature to just believe everything that we can, but that's why it's important to listen to sources like CitrusTV and other sources that have that confirmation for us of what we know to be true and why we know it to be true.
Sometimes it's easy to latch on to kind of the worst story you hear and to jump to some conclusions based off that. But again, as you were saying, Gabby, important to realize where these sources are coming from and to verify things before you start believing them and start disseminating them to other people.
Yeah, and like you had already noted, social media, it's at our fingertips. Sometimes we go with the first thing that we can get our hands on, but we want to make sure that all of those reports that we're getting via Twitter, via Facebook, that we're getting phone calls about, we're going to try to confirm as much as we can tonight and bring it to you. Our main concern right now is waiting for the response from Syracuse Police to tell us exactly what they were investigating, to basically set the scene. I was there earlier, but it was so blocked off you couldn't really see what exactly was happening behind those roadblocks of the flares on Moore Street, of the cop car that was blocking parts of Robert Drive. I didn't make it down to Hope Avenue at the time. We didn't have that information. But what exactly happened there? And that's what we're trying to find out as soon as Syracuse Police Department gives us that press release. We're going to, like I said, read it over and try to figure out the details of what exactly happened.
And we would like to, as we're waiting for this press release, if you have any questions about tonight or about what has happened tonight, you can feel free to tweet at us at CitrusTV News or at CitrusTV. We're trying to answer as many questions as we possibly can. We do have as many avenues of reporting that we have, and we've been answering a couple questions that we've received from professors. But if you have a legitimate question about your safety or what you should be concerned about, we just want to reiterate that DPS has lifted the orange alert and that it is important. Everything is safe. If you do see suspicious activity, obviously still report it, but it's the orange alert has been lifted.
Yeah, and it goes to show what this orange alert has been put in place for. It's to protect not only us, but to tell our parents. It's to tell the alum. In some cases, as Gabby noted, some alum were contacting us saying that they got the orange alert. And I know that some of the alum are watching online, are watching this broadcast, and we're trying to give them updated information that is confirmed so that they know, even though they're not here, exactly what's going on here at Syracuse University and the surrounding areas. And we're trying to get that information to you as soon as possible, but we want to make sure that that information is true and confirmed before we put it out there.
And one such confirmation that we've tried to make, our producers have been working in the newsroom, and they've actually reached out to the Onondaga County Medical Office and the Onondaga County Coroner to ask if there has been a body that has been found. There's been a lot of talk of a dead body being found, and they have replied with no comment. So we have reached out to the source, Onondaga County Medical Office and the Onondaga County Coroner, and they have told us that they don't have a comment, and that's all we have information as far as a potential homicide.
So again, that whole situation continues to be murky. We'll, just like all the rest of the information we'll have, we'll give that to you as we find it. But again, it just goes to show there's really not very much information we know at this point. It's all speculation, and continues to remain important to know the source and to trust only things that are verifiable.
Yeah, verifiable, and the things that we've seen on the ground. There were 3 different places in which cop cars and cops were out on foot investigating that area. Like I said earlier, I never made it out to Hope Avenue, but reports are saying that that was an additional scene on top of Moore Street. The questions that we have are, why were Moore Street and Robert Drive at this time tonight? Why were they blocked off? What was going on there? And that's exactly what we hope to hear from the Syracuse police about tonight at some point.
Now, Hunter, we're actually bringing up your own tweet, our own Hunter Sains, NCC, or Citrus TV, of course.
Yeah.
Has pictures. What was this picture of?
So this was exactly what I saw on Robert Drive. As you can see, this is right when you turn on Robert Drive, you head all the way down until you have to be taking a left along Robert Drive to go to more apartments. But what I saw was these cop cars in this picture are blocking off the street. You can't go any further. You see the one officer in the middle of the street with the cop car behind him is flashing lights. And I didn't see the car that was allegedly towed off off of Robert Drive. I did not see that at the time. It doesn't mean that it wasn't there, but I could not see that at the time. I couldn't see if they were investigating a home. But these are apartments that SU students live in. I know a number of students that live in those apartments. They walk through that cemetery every day to go to the bus stop, to get to class. And to them, this I can imagine was a little bit frightening to see out your window as you're getting these orange alerts every couple minutes.
Well, and FLINT and Day Hall is right above this cemetery. For potential freshmen that are living on campus, I think it's a positive that they've had so much information from Orange Alert to know that, yes, they did have to lock their doors. That was an email that we showed earlier. Flint Hall was told to close their blinds, close their windows, but that was because of precaution. And although I'm sure, the newer students to campus, that was something that did scare them, it was all out of safety to make sure that we were all being as safe as possible that we could on the Syracuse campus. We do want to reiterate once again that no Syracuse students were involved in this whole situation, that the Orange Alert was simply Syracuse police DPS tweeted out that Syracuse police was investigating something and that it was so close to the Syracuse campus that they felt they should let everyone know who live on Syracuse campus about.
Yeah, and it's important to also note that nothing of a shooting or anything of that nature happened on the SU Hill, on the campus, on their property, in other words, on South Campus over in Manly. I mean, we do have a little bit of a widespread campus. We have this next orange alert. Go ahead, Gabby.
Orange alert, be advised the emergency no longer exists and it is clear to resume normal activity. Continue to be diligent and report any suspicious activity. Out of the 140 characters, their limit.
There we go.
But, we do appreciate Syracuse DPS, and we'd like to thank them for everything that they've let us know tonight, all of the orange alerts. It's definitely comforting to know that we are constantly being updated from the Syracuse DPS, but also Syracuse University, from professors, from anyone involved with the Syracuse University has done their best to let us know the information in a timely manner.
Again, I think this is an opportunity to come together as a community, recognize the work that DPS and Syracuse police have done on this night, and that it was a really stressful evening for a lot of different people, and that it could have been a scary situation for a lot of those people living in homes or in places that were nearby where they could hear sirens, they could see helicopters, they could see police right outside their door. And so it's important to remember that some of those things are really impactful events in someone's memory, and that this is an opportunity to reach out to your friends both on campus and off campus to let them know that you're safe, but really to bring this community together and allow them to remember this event and to make it just to reiterate how important these things are and some of the precautions that we do have in place to make sure everyone is safe, and that now as the aftermath of this unfolds and we learn more information, it's just important to note that we can reach out to each other and make sure everyone is safe and feeling good, feeling calm, and that we're all ready to go back to our normal lives.
Yeah, especially via social media. I mean, we keep bringing it up here. It helps us. It helps students become aware of the situation. If you're not following DPS, if you're not following law enforcement on their social media sites and their Twitter accounts, Facebook accounts, things of that nature, go and follow them, because if you're not, say for instance you weren't one that got the orange alert, possibly you're tuned into social media on your tablet, on your phone, computer, and you could have seen these tweets that were going out all night by DPS and other law enforcement officials, and you could have been told the same information. And this goes to other people who share that information. Share it. Blast it, make it go viral at this point, just as a safety precaution to your fellow classmates, to your faculty, to your local citizens who could be affected.
And another thing to know as well is if you don't already have the DPS phone number in your phone, that's a number that you would call for suspicious activity. Again, you call that in a situation where it's not an orange alert. They did send out another orange alert saying, do not call us unless it is an emergency. So that's something to know, that if you don't have the DPS phone number, please try and put it in your phone for a situation like this, if it were ever to occur again, that you can let the enforcement know, the officials know, this is what I know, this is what I've seen, this is what's happening. And to also stay up to date with that as well.
This is a good opportunity to talk about other things about safety on our campus, and to let viewers know there is an app that it was just launched, I believe, this year called Live Safe, launched on Syracuse at least. So it's a Live Safe app. Certainly some cool factors on this. So one of the things you can do is you can actually virtually watch your friend walk home. So you can ask your friend to walk you home virtually, and then they'll see your little dot moving along the map. And so then you know that if the dot stops, well, maybe something happened, give them a call and see what's up. And then the other thing is, if you're the one walking home, as you are being tracked through GPS along your phone there, you can press a button right there through the app that will alert DPS, and they will know then exactly where you are based on that GPS tracking information. I know one of the staff members in the admissions office actually walked into Thorndon Park one night and pressed that button just to make sure that it was working, and a DPS officer was there in under 60 seconds. So important to remember the different precautions we have on campus here. It's important that students are safe at all times, and even if you think this is never going to be you, and you are one of those people who always walks home with a group and stays out of trouble, it's important to have those apps, tell everyone about it, and just in case that anything would happen, it's always good to have those on hand in case you need them.
And we are still waiting on the press statement from Syracuse Police. We are told that they are sending it any minute now, so that's what technology, another form of technology that we have. But yes, this app that Seth is talking about, it is called Live Safe. You can download it. Another app that you can download is the Syracuse Guides. It has a whole bunch of guides. They include DPS guide, all sorts of things like that, just to really have safety on this campus.
Yeah, and that's their main concern. You know, these apps being made. That's what's pretty much awesome about the world that we live in now.
Yeah.
Is, you know, I didn't even know about the app that you just described, and it was news to me. And to see that's what can be done at the tip of your finger, whether you have a friend, whether you have a significant other walking home that you can't, you know, that you're worried about. And I take it that if DPS can get there in under 60 seconds. Then every student should have that app downloaded just as a safety precaution if they need it. Who knows when you might be in that situation. And to have that safety net, I mean, you can't be thankful enough of it.
It sort of takes the whole idea of the blue lights that we have on campus where you push a button and DPS comes immediately. It's almost now a blue light can be on you at any given time.
Yeah,
so
walking
that's
blue light.
A walking blue light.
Yeah.
That's Live Safe. That's the app.
That
so
should be the official slogan of the Live Safe.
Well, we're not promoting Live Safe,
No.
but we are advising that everyone do download it.
It's important to take this as an event where we can kind of reevaluate some of the things that we have and be proud of the systems that we have in place to prevent some of these things and to react to one of these incidents. So it's important to talk to your friends, make sure they do have some of these apps and are safe at all times, and to remember that some of these things just can't be taken lightly, and sometimes it's easy to think, well, it's not going to happen to me, it's fine if I walk home alone just this one time, but it's important to remember to always be safe and to alert your friends to all of these precautions that we should all be taking.
And here at Citrus TV, we do want to commend DPS for the great job that they did tonight. I know we've called them, our producers in the control room have called them multiple times, and they did their best to tell us what they know and why they know and when they knew it. So we really want to just take the time to thank DPS for everything that they've done to protect the students and to just keep everyone safe on campus. And not just tonight, of course. I mean, there's situations that happen all the time on campus that DPS is there for and that we don't ever realize until a situation like this really occurs.
Certainly another safeguard, another precaution is all those DPS officers every day driving around, offering to take students home. They're always available if you do feel unsafe late at night, you're in an area that you feel a little bit uncomfortable. DPS is available there to send someone to walk with you home or to drive you home. So definitely a big commendation goes out to DPS and all of their work that they do throughout the year and being vigilant throughout this whole situation.
Yeah, and it goes for other forms of law enforcement that were there tonight as well and that are always there in the community. If you live off campus and things like that, they did an incredible job. And just as far as sending that press release out, they're taking their time on it. They want to give also their most accurate information that they have at the time that is confirmed, that doesn't need to go through the questioning of police officers with what they might be investigating at the scene. They want to give us the accurate information that we can tell you about, in other words, that they themselves have confirmed. And like Gabby said, we're waiting on that press release. We don't know exactly when we'll get it, but we have been told that they are working on it and they're going to get it to us at any minute as soon as possible. And
it's important to remember that considering the number of different agencies and just the number of different individuals that were all involved in this situation, I'm sure it can take a long time to get all those perspectives and to hear the stories of all the different people that what they saw, what they experienced, and then to kind of assemble that into one press release certainly can take time. And we want to make sure that citizens and viewers are getting the complete picture and getting all the information that Syracuse police can gather. And so that certainly you can imagine why that would take some time.
Yeah. And like we said, you can follow Syracuse police, you can follow Syracuse DPS, but you can also follow Citrus TV News on Twitter. We do have news updates that we've been trying to give out all day, this whole, I guess, all night for tonight. We've been trying to let you know everything that we know, everything that we have up to date, all of the information that we have. We are still waiting from the press release from Syracuse Police. We do not want to do any speculation until we know exactly what happened from the Syracuse Police. We are told that we should be getting it any minute now. Again, Syracuse Police, I'm sure, have a lot of other things on their hands right now, but we are waiting for that report before we speculate anything.
And it goes to say they have to put in their time and effort to see what really happened from the scene. They're questioning people that could have been witnesses, that could have been in nearby areas. So they're trying to find it out for themselves before they give that information to us to tell the viewers the news that actually will affect them, that what went on tonight, what have we been discussing, and what caused it pretty much. And that takes some time to get from point A to point B to point C, our viewers.
And it's important, of course, to remember that just as we don't want to give out any information that is just speculation or isn't verified, of course the police themselves have to verify all that information and make sure that they aren't giving out anything that isn't backed up by fact or doesn't have a way to be checked or an eyewitness account. So it's important to remember that they're going through just the same processes that we are, trying to make sure that everything is verifiable and that they are very confident in the information that they're giving out to the public.
And at this time, I mean, it's important to note that, you know, thank goodness that nobody here at SU or the surrounding community along Euclid and South Campus, it didn't happen here. Nobody was hurt, thank goodness. And let this just be a reminder and an actual type of warning and practice trial of this orange alert system. I haven't had this orange alert system go into full effect since I've been here. This is the first time. And, you know, in a way, take the good parts of it, of that it didn't affect directly our community, and just know that it works. It's a procedure that's put in place. They told us in a timely manner, and that they got it to us in time to basically get us to shelter in place, to stay out of harm's way if there was harm in the area. And like I said, it's a good practice run of what could have been a different story.
And every single student received a text, a phone call, an email. So those are 3 forms of communication that every single student, every single professor, everyone who with a SYR email and signed up onto My Slides should have received a text, an email, and a phone call. Most of us got voicemails because of that as well. But I mean, we get those all the time, but in this situation, we were itching and wanting that information.
And it's an important indication as well, some of the safety precautions that are available for students and members of this campus community. And we also want to remember that students were clearly not the only ones affected by this. We need to remember that this is a thing that really affected the community. It seems like a lot of people have been affected by this. And as happy as we are, and absolutely I agree with you that thank goodness no one from the student community was directly impacted by this. But it's, of course, we feel for everyone in the Syracuse community, all of those people who aren't receiving those orange alerts, but also maybe worried about their neighborhood, their house. They also saw these cop cars, and maybe some of them didn't have as much information as some of those students. So it's important to reconnect some of those links with the community in Syracuse, and to just know that we up on the Hill in some ways are sheltered from a lot of these things. And it's important to realize that the real world, I mean, we're living in the real world in a university in many ways, but in other ways we are up on that hill. And so a lot of these things are affecting the community in at least different ways than they affect many students and staff. So it's important to reach out to that community and really start bridging those connections between the university and the broader Syracuse area.
And we do want to apologize. We have not received the Syracuse Police press release. We do intend to tweet it at CitrusTV News. So if you haven't followed us already, please follow us. We will tweet the press release as soon as we receive it. We're going to wrap up here. So for Hunter, thank you so much for going out there and on the scene for us. Seth, thank you. Without a blazer, mind you, he came on the air to report the breaking news. We want to thank everyone in our control room, from our news director, Lauren Anderson, our operations manager, Nick Ross, who made our YouTube stream available, our TD, Tim Langlois, everyone in this control room right now for making sure that we could be live. We will have the full story tomorrow, live at 6 on Thursday News, live at 6. That's at 6 p.m., channel 14.1 on the Orange Television Network. So for Hunter and Seth, I'm Gabriella Rusk. We thank you so much for watching us tonight, and continue to stay safe, Syracuse. Thanks again.